We live in a world where being a woman often feels like navigating a minefield. The simple act of walking alone at night can be fraught with anxiety and fear. Every shadow, every footstep behind them can trigger a sense of dread. Every day, women face threats to their safety and well-being. Whether commuting to work, running errands, or simply enjoying a night out, the threat of harassment or violence is ever present. This constant vigilance takes a toll on their mental and emotional health. From street harassment to domestic violence, the fear is constant and pervasive. Women are often subjected to catcalls, unwanted advances, and even physical assaults in public spaces. At home, many face the terror of domestic abuse, feeling trapped and helpless. Despite numerous laws and policies aimed at protecting women, the reality remains grim. Law enforcement and judicial systems often fall short in providing the necessary protection and justice. Many cases go unreported due to fear of retaliation or lack of faith in the system. The statistics paint a bleak picture. Reports and studies consistently show high rates of violence against women, with little improvement over the years. These numbers are not just figures. They represent real lives affected by violence and fear. Globally, 1 in 3 women experiences physical or sexual violence in her lifetime. This staggering statistic highlights the widespread nature of the problem. It is a call to action for governments, communities, and individuals to take a stand. These numbers represent countless individual tragedies, each a stark reminder of the urgent need for change. Behind every statistic is a story of pain, loss, and resilience. We must honor these stories by working towards a safer world for all women. The issue of women's safety is not just a matter of statistics, it is about fundamental human rights. Every woman has the right to live free from fear and violence. This is a basic human right that should be guaranteed to all, regardless of where they live. It is about the right to live free from fear, the right to move through the world without constantly looking over one's shoulder. Women should be able to enjoy their lives, pursue their dreams, and participate in society without the constant threat of violence. It is about the right to education, to work, and to participate fully in society without the threat of violence. Women should be able to focus on their studies, careers, and community involvement without the added burden of worrying about their safety. The time for complacency is long over. We must take proactive steps to address this issue. This includes educating the public, supporting victims, and holding perpetrators accountable. We must create a culture that does not tolerate violence against women. We must acknowledge the systemic nature of this problem and work together to create a world where women are not just protected by law, but truly safe in their homes, communities, and societies. This requires a collective effort from all sectors of society, including government, law enforcement, and community organizations. Only then can we hope to create a world where women can live without fear. Many countries have enacted laws and policies to address violence against women. These laws vary widely in scope and effectiveness. Some countries have comprehensive legislation covering a range of offences, from domestic violence to sexual harassment. Others have laws that are narrower in focus, addressing specific forms of violence or protecting particular groups of women. While the existence of these laws is a step in the right direction, it is not enough. Laws are only as good as their enforcement. In many cases, laws designed to protect women are poorly enforced or not enforced at all. This can be due to a lack of resources, corruption, or a lack of political will. Even when laws are enforced, the justice system can be difficult for women to navigate. They may face stigma, discrimination, or intimidation when reporting crimes. This can discourage women from coming forward and seeking justice. The roots of violence against women run deep. They are embedded in patriarchal social norms and cultural beliefs that perpetuate gender inequality. In many societies, women are viewed as inferior to men. They are socialized to be submissive, obedient, and accepting of male dominance. This power imbalance creates an environment where violence against women is not only tolerated, but often excused or justified. Cultural practices such as child marriage, female genital mutilation, and dowry-related violence continue to harm millions of girls and women worldwide. These practices are often deeply ingrained in tradition and upheld by community leaders. Challenging these harmful norms requires a fundamental shift in attitudes and beliefs. It requires engaging with men and boys as allies in the fight for gender equality. It also requires empowering women and girls to recognize their own worth and to demand their rights. Section 4. The Justice Gap. Loopholes in enforcement and prosecution. Despite the existence of laws, there are often significant gaps in their enforcement and prosecution. These gaps can undermine the very purpose of the laws, leaving victims without the justice they deserve. These gaps can occur at every stage of the justice system, from the initial reporting of a crime to the final sentencing of a perpetrator. Each stage presents its own set of challenges and obstacles that can prevent justice from being served. One major challenge is the underreporting of violence against women. This underreporting is often driven by a complex mix of fear, shame, and mistrust in the system. Many women are reluctant to report crimes due to fear of retaliation, shame, or a lack of faith in the justice system. They may worry about not being believed or facing further victimization. Even when cases are reported, they may not be taken seriously by law enforcement. This can be due to a lack of training, resources, or even interest in handling such cases properly. Police officers may be insensitive to the needs of victims, or may even hold biased views that blame women for the violence they experience. This can lead to a lack of empathy and support for the victims. This can result in cases being dismissed or not investigated thoroughly. When cases are not properly investigated, crucial evidence can be lost, and perpetrators can go unpunished. Even when cases make it to court, conviction rates for crimes against women remain low. The courtroom can be an intimidating place for victims, and the legal process can be long and arduous. This is partly due to the challenges of proving these crimes, which often occur in private and may lack physical evidence. The burden of proof can be overwhelming for victims who must relive their trauma in court. It is also due to systemic biases within the justice system that can favour the accused over the victim. These biases can manifest in various ways, from the questioning of the victim's credibility to the leniency shown towards the accused. Addressing these loopholes requires comprehensive reforms and a commitment to ensuring that justice is accessible to all, regardless of gender. Only then can we hope to close the justice gap and provide true protection and support for victims of violence. Section 5. Unheard Voices, Unseen Scars. Real-life stories of injustice. In every corner of the world, There are stories that remain untold, voices that remain unheard, and scars that remain unseen. The human cost of this justice gap is immeasurable. It affects not just the individuals directly involved, but also their families, communities, and society at large. The ripple effects of injustice can be felt far and wide. Behind every statistic is a real-life story of a woman whose life has been forever altered by violence. These are not just numbers, they are mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends whose lives have been shattered. These stories are often heartbreaking, but they are also powerful reminders of why we must continue to fight for change. They serve as a call to action, urging us to stand up and speak out against injustice. Take the story of Jyoti Singh, a young Indian woman who was brutally gang raped and murdered in Delhi in 2012. Her tragic death was a wake-up call for many, highlighting the urgent need for systemic change. Her case sparked international outrage and shone a light on the epidemic of violence against women in India. It led to widespread protests and demands for stricter laws and better protection for women. Or consider the countless women around the world who suffer in silence, trapped in abusive relationships, or subjected to daily harassment. These women live in constant fear, their lives overshadowed by the threat of violence. These women may never see their abusers brought to justice, but their stories deserve to be heard. Their courage in the face of adversity is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. These stories remind us that violence against women is not just a distant problem or someone else's issue. It is a pervasive human rights crisis that affects us all, regardless of where we live or who we are. It is a pervasive human rights crisis that demands our attention and action. We must come together as a global community to support survivors, hold perpetrators accountable, and work towards a future where every woman can live free from fear and violence.